now that we have set up our TwitchBot to connect to chat and to accept chat messages and then do something with it, let's do something a little more interesting than just putting in, just accepting something and spitting something out into chat. So we want to actually take a command and then do something with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to do something that you will, at least I saw whenever I went to college and did my first coding classes. One of the first things that they teach you is how to do a temperature conversion algorithm. And so meaning you want to take in a temperature number in Fahrenheit and convert it to Celsius. And then you want to take a Celsius temperature and convert it to Fahrenheit. And what that teaches you is how to work with numbers and do math within the coding language of choice. So in this case, we're going to do this in JavaScript, and we're going to create two separate commands in order to do that. So the first one we're going to do is exclamation point F, the number 2, C, and then a number. And then we're also going to do exclamation point C to F, and then a number. So F2C is going to convert the temperature from Fahrenheit to Celsius using this formula right here. And then the other one is going to go from Celsius to Fahrenheit using this formula right here. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to copy down these equations into chat. So we're going to get rid of this for now. And we're going to first do the Fahrenheit to Celsius conversion. So this is the formula necessary for Fahrenheit to Celsius right here. So, and if you're wondering, for those of you just starting out with software, especially JavaScript, this right here is called a comment. And any comment starts off in JavaScript with the slash command. Just 2 forward slashes and then a space. But you actually don't need the space. You just do that. Anything that is a comment is not compiled in the interpreter. It's not run. So you can just put notes for yourself that will help you either tell yourself or tell someone else what your code is doing at a given time. So we're just going to use that as this comment as here's how we're going to convert from Fahrenheit to Celsius. So how are we going to determine that the command has even been put into chat? So first thing that we're going to do is we're going to read in the message. Okay, so this right here, we're going to read in the message that comes into chat, and then we are going to see if the first word, essentially, of the chat is exclamation point F2C. And then if it is, we're going to determine if the next word is a number. And if it is, then we're going to do the conversion. If it is not a number, then we're going to throw some kind of error. So first thing we're going to do is we are going to do a conditional statement. We're going to say if. We're going to read in the message. Okay, so we're going to take the message that came in with chat, and then, okay, hold on, let me put my brackets. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take the message, we're going to split it. So since the message is just a string, we're going to split it according to spaces. Okay, what the split command does is it takes a string and makes it into an array. And each element of the array is, in this case, every word. And thank you for the follow. Oh, hit sneeze. So whenever there is a space in the message, the string is split into a separate element of the array. So in this case, if we just put in the chat exclamation point F2C and then space and then a number, you're going to have 2 elements in the array. You're going to have the first element being exclamation point F2C, and then the second element of the array we're going to have as the number. or whatever else is after the F2C. So what we're specifically looking at for is the first element of the array. And if you recall from my JavaScript videos, the first element of an array is always the 0 element because software starts counting at 0. So we're looking for specifically the first word in the string in the message to be exclamation point F, the number 2, C. So if the first word in the message is exclamation point F2C, then what we're going to do, so we're going to do this in multiple steps. We're going to first assume that every second word in the string, so in this case, if we put in the message as F2C and then let's say 42, F2C space 42, it's going to just convert that, for the message. Then we're going to handle what happens if the thing after the space is not a number. So we're going to be doing some error handling here as well. So let's do what we in software call the happy case first, the success case. So we're going to assume that this is going to be a number. So what we're going to do is we're just going to have the bot say something in the chat. So what we're going to do is we are going to just make the bot say something. We're going to say chatbot.say. And this is how the TMI API says something in the chat. So that's going to make the bot, in this case, Death Star 07, do something. So in order to make the bot actually say something, we're going to need 2 arguments. The first argument that we're going to need is the channel name that the bot's going to send the message to, which we already have that argument from the parameters up in the function call. And then the second argument is going to be the chat message itself. So in this case, we're just going to run the math just straight. It's going to be super nice. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to split the message again. We're going to message split space. And in this case, we want the actual number. So the actual number is going to be the second element of the array, which, as we know, since arrays start counting at 0, the second element of the array is index 1. The first element is index 0, the second element is 1, so on. So in this case, we're going to get the number, and then we're going to say this degrees F is, and now we're going to actually run the conversion. And so in order to run some math directly within a string like this, you need to have it in parentheses, because just like in any math problem, having something in parentheses means that you run this first. And so even though we're actually creating a string, having something in parentheses first means we want to run that action first. So we're just going to finish the string. So now we're going to actually run the calculation. So the calculation is going to be, we're going to take this. This is the number that we're doing. And in order to make this work, we need to, since the number itself currently is a string, we need to convert it into a number, or in this case, an integer, in order to make it usable for a mathematical computation. So we're going to use a built-in JavaScript function called Parseint. So parse integer. We're going to put in that second element of the array, and then we're going to say, so that's the F that you see right here. This is the Fahrenheit. And then we're going to say this minus 32. And so you'll notice that I'm keeping this within parentheses because I'm being explicit on how I want this to be converted mathematically. And then we're going to multiply that by 5/9. That's that. That's all there is to it. So let me make this a little more readable. So I'll just put this to the next line. And that's it. This command should work. And so let's try it. Let's run the bot again. All right, chat. if any of you would be so kind, actually, hold on. Let me do a console.log so people can see it in the message as well. So let's do a console.log. Then we're going to just copy all of this. You won't need to do this at home for anyone watching the video. This is it so you can see it in the video. All right, chat. If you would be so kind, please try the command exclamation point F2C and then give it a number. Okay, so we got 212, 42, so nice. Over 9,000. All right, so let me pull up a Fahrenheit to Celsius converter to make sure that we're actually getting the correct calculations. All right, chat. The first one that was given was 212 degrees, so that should give us 100. It does. 9,001 gives you 4982. That is correct. So it looks like we actually did our math correctly. So I would say that's a success so far. So now that we have that, we can do some error handling. So now that we have checked that the initial, we know that the happy case works. We know that the success case works. So what we're going to do is we're going to now check to make sure that the failure case works. So now that we know that the happy case works, the success case works, let's do a little bit of tweaking to our initial setup to make life a little bit easier, just for parsing messages and checking for commands in general. So what we're going to do first is we are going to create a constant that is just a word array of the message. What this is going to do is it's just going to take the message and it's going to split it up into an array based on the spaces. So we can just call word array every time and then just check against it to see if the index 0 of the word array is either F2C or C2F or any other command that we are going to hit it with. Okay, so what I'm about to suggest here is something that I've just picked up by experience of just doing software for a while. So we're going to do some error handling before we even execute the command. So what we're going to do is we are going to first check if the command being executed is either F2C or if the command attempting to be executed is exclamation point C2F. If it's either one of these, then we're going to check and make sure that the number being given for the command is actually a number. If it is, then we will run the command. If it's not, we'll give an error. So the way that we are going to check if the value being given in the command is actually a number or not, we're actually going to check if it is not a number. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to say if the number being provided, in this case, the second index of the array, the second index of the array is not a number. The way that we're going to do this is we're going to say we're going to call the number class. We're going to say if the string is not a number, what this is nan, N-A-N like this, is short for is not a number. And it takes in a single argument, which is a string. I'm going to pass that in right there. So if the string that we're passing in is in fact not a number, then we're going to have the chatbot say, chatbot.say, and remember, we need the channel that we're talking in and the message. So the message is going to be the value provided, not a number. Try again. And then if it turns out that the string is in fact a number, we're going to say else. Then we're going to do two more conditional statements. So this is where we're going to actually check for the command itself. We know that the command at this point is either going to be Fahrenheit to Celsius or it's going to be Celsius to Fahrenheit. So in this case, we're going to do another check. So if the word array for the first word of the message is F2C, exclamation point F2C, then we are going to just do the same thing that we did earlier. We can just highlight all of this stuff that we did earlier, and we can just move it into right here. And it works just the same. We can clean this up, and then we can say else if. Otherwise, if the command being executed, so in this case, it's the first word of the array of the message again. So if the first word of the message is instead the Celsius to Fahrenheit, we're going to do the same thing, except we're going to run the Celsius to Fahrenheit conversion. So I'm going to put another comment up here and then gives the conversion for Celsius to Fahrenheit. And really, we can just copy and paste. I know for those of you who have done software for a little while, this is a dangerous thing that I'm doing, just copying and pasting, because you can end up doing some creative messing up of things. But we're going to try it because we are foolhardy and brave. So we're just going to change the F to a C right here, and we're going to change the C right here to an F. And we'll just clear out this console log for a moment and then copy and paste it in a minute. And now we're going to do the actual conversion. So this, we need to do the second conversion. So it's going to be this one. So we have C, so this is going to stay where it is. And we're going to say times 9/5 plus 32. And it's that simple. So now we can just copy the message that we're doing. Again, actually, let me clean this up a little bit. What we can do is we can change the message dot split to 1. So we can change this to just word array since we created the word array earlier. Doing stuff like this just saves you typing later. That's why you create variables for pieces of data that you're going to be using often. In this case, we're going to need an array for the message pretty often. So we just create it whenever chat actually comes in. And now this should work. It should do the same thing. We should have a Fahrenheit to Celsius conversion, and we should have a Celsius to Fahrenheit conversion. So let's start the bot, and chat, if you would be so kind as to give it a try. So try both the exclamation point F2C commands and the exclamation point C2F command. And feel free to try it with a number and without a number. A few moments later, there's not a number of degrees. So I wonder why it's still giving the is not a number. So the word should have actually thrown an error. It should have given you the error message, but it didn't. So we have a problem where the number, if we just put in a word, it's actually saying that it's still a number. So the way that we would check, we can try two things. We can explicitly try and say if this is true, and then that might work. And then we can also see what the output is if we just say console.log, and then we put in this. We want to know what the output is of number is not a number, if it's checking what the number is. So try it again and see. So if we do F2C 42 is not a number, but it's true, okay? Or rather, it's false. We want it to be false. And then F2C, say Bob. Okay, so we have a problem. It's still showing that this is a number. Why? The value provided is not a valid number. Try again. Good. That works. And I forgot to have the console.log show that. We can see that the number value works. And then if we try it again with a word, not a number. So the trick is to parse the number first because it's checking if a number is not a number, not a string. So for clarity, whenever you're checking, we're using the number that is not a number command. What you want to do is take the string that you're trying to check if it's not a number, parse it into an integer, which will give the value of either the integer that the string has within it, or it's going to return is not a number. And then if that is true, it's going to give the error. And then if it's in fact a number, it's going to run the command itself. And that, when it's all said and done, is how to create a command for your bot using JavaScript. If you found that useful or have any questions or would like to hang out with us on Discord, check the links below and feel free to subscribe on YouTube. Thanks for watching.